Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jake, this is Nadia, this is Buddy, this is Sedona. Bobby was downstairs playing around. Today we're talking about Barry, specifically the final season 4 of Barry. I think that unfortunately was slightly overshadowed by the hype Succession was getting, and I don't think it paired well viewing it right after Succession every night, but I'm curious to think what you thought of Barry season 4 in general. One of our favorite shows. We've done reviews for Barry in the past. What did you think? Did Barry land the plane?
So just so you know, we're going to talk all spoilers.
Oh yeah, this will be all spoilers. Yeah. Please watch the series. It's definitely worth watching.
We did another recording.
We've done reviews of, I think we did talk about season 3 and Barry in general. We recommend it. Yeah, what did you think of season 4?
So, it's amazing how when you compare season 4 to season 1, how different Barry has become. It's become really dark. It's also interesting watching it right after Succession because it's like, oh my God, what is going to happen? You truly don't know. You're on the edge because I think Bill Hader, he writes for the show. He does a great job of just keeping us guessing. However, I think it loses some of its charm that was initially there in doing so. But I also understand why he made those choices because it's the last season. It's phenomenal the way that it was directed, acted. I love the religious kind of aspect of it where Barry just turns religious and he just uses
that was I think that was my favorite episode of the season.
Justify everything.
Yeah, and a lot of people, it was divisive. A lot of people didn't like that episode. I thought it was funny and horrifying. Just that whole episode of seeing how they were living. It was just perfect.
Well, it
slowed down a bit, which I liked.
I thought it was funny, in that episode where Sally goes, "I need to turn yourself in because Gene Cousineau is going to go to jail for your crimes," and then he goes, "I don't think that's what God wants for me."
Yeah.
And it was just interesting. I love the ending where Gene kills Barry and his final words are, "Oh wow."
Yeah.
Just very non-significant. And I think when you look at interviews from Bill Hader, he does these things intentionally because we were, as audience, because of how charming Barry could be, we're falling in love with Barry and we're rooting for him. But then Bill is like, this is this guy who is a ruthless murderer. I think he kind of was like, let me show you how ruthless he can truly be. And he was. I think it's crazy how Sally and Barry had a baby and how he made his son scared of playing baseball, thinking that it was going to kill him. And also the ending of the series where they made a movie about Barry representing him as a good guy was funny and really well done. I think in a lot of ways, like I said, it kind of represents how the audience from the previous seasons were like, Barry is great, Sally is annoying, and Sally is annoying, but Barry isn't great, and it's portrayed as him being great, even though in reality, Barry was really ruthless. And I also, I do have criticism a little bit about how Gene Cousineau gets flipped into being the bad guy all of a sudden because he took $250 or how much ever the money was, $250,000, and never told his son. I mean, he did escape when I think about it after shooting his son and didn't check in on him and only came back because of the movie. And I think he's kind of an example of a person who thinks he's more righteous than he really is. The idea of big actors playing him and, being part of this big movie, he was really ready to turn over what his moral system beliefs that he thought he had were and really sell himself out.
Yeah, I mean, here's my issue with season 3 and 4, but I think that it gets more accelerated in season 4, is that I feel like the show lost a bit of the sense of pace that made it work, and it made us, suspend our belief or disbelief and keep ourselves focused on the characters, because I do think that I like where it was going with a darker tone, but the high comedy, the silly, Dave and Buster's gangsters hanging out at Dave and Buster's, plus the trying to keep the murder serious and real, I lost any real care for the characters and they became a bit more cartoonish, except for a few of I'd say Cristobal and NoHo Hank. I really cared about their relationship and I thought that was done really well in this season. Like Barry in general, like I get we're trying to turn him into like a pure villain, but it also we just lose. I honestly felt like lost every time we'd watch an episode every week. I'd kind of forget what happens entirely because with season 4, like the first few episodes, there were too many major flips of character that I kind of forgot. Like I'm going like, wait, what did Kusino want? Like, what's his goal right now? What's Barry's goal? What's Noho Hank's goal? Like, and who's Barry's mentor? The guy in prison.
The Raven.
Raven. What does he like Barry now? Does he want to kill Barry now? And it just got very muddled. And I do think they had all these ambitious ideas and they wanted to fit it all into like one season. Either they should have stretched it out and done a couple more seasons, or they should have just killed Barry at the end of season 3 or something, because it felt honestly like they were like, okay, we're kind of done with this character. Bill Hader or the writers in general kind of lost interest in Barry as a flawed character. And I get the point they're trying to make, and I think it's a valid point. Like Barry is not this lovable goofball, but he also has always been deeply dark, and it's always been a dark show. But I think they just kind of lost that sense of these are real people. I don't know. I personally like was able to watch it from like an intellectual like way of like, this is a really interesting way that they're directing this, I see what they're doing with the themes, but I also just felt so little in terms of like, I don't really care about the characters anymore.
I don't feel that way. I understand where you're coming from though. I feel like, yes, it should have been stretched out to another season, but I think that's what also kept us guessing and kept us over the edge, is that things were consistently changing. And yes, there's a lot of things that was hard to kind of keep up with, but I honestly think it was overshadowed by Succession for you.
No, I think on its own, because I had these issues with season 3, but I was kind of thinking maybe it'll get better with season 3.
Season 3 I really liked, because
I like season 3 better, I think.
Like, especially when he's trying to make Gene Kusino say, I love you, with a
that was great.
Like with his son in the room, and where he's taking, so it was very, very dark. I miss the humor. I mean, I missed the initial reasons why I started watching the show. I think we're no longer there because it completely evolved. But I think this is like a criticism that like, it's like you can't win. If it ended like in similar manner, we'd be condoning it for being repetitive, and because it does something completely different, we're condoning it because it does something completely different.
Well, I think also like there were moments in season 4, especially I remember watching, where like we'd laugh at some of the really dark humor, but then they do a gag that was more like season 1 Barry. I'm thinking of Fuchs, when he's like he's all tattooed and he's standing with all of the gangsters in the house trying to explain to his girlfriend and her daughter, like, we'll play music when we kill the next person, we won't chop their head off right in front of you, and they're just like doing this bit, and it just keeps going on, and it wasn't funny at all.
I thought it was hilarious.
You didn't laugh? We were just sitting there, and it just kind of felt like, okay, why are we like, it just felt so cartoonish that it was like we're losing a sense of reality here that is really important to feel the stakes of, these are people who can die, these are people who matter.
That's not true.
I just lost a sense of care. Like,
no.
The more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing like I didn't really love season 4 that much.
Yeah, no, I thought that was hilarious. Also, I don't agree with you when you say you lose a sense of people who they are. I think that is true in the maybe the last episode in a way. It's not true early on because, Cristobal died. We really did care. We really wanted to know what happened to his partner. What you're saying becomes true in the last episode. Everyone basically dies except for Fuchs, and Gene Kusino goes to jail. Sally, she becomes like a high school teacher. The movie that they play at the end that Barry's son watches to think of his dad as a hero, I thought
that was great. I thought it ended well. I thought that those last two scenes were great.
I think that was good, but I think it's kind of like an example of these people are dead. Really, nothing matters except the representation that we put out for them. So we're talking about this movie being done in the new season, and
I almost feel like,
and there's a little bit of a fight of like, this is not right to show this person this way. It's not right. And at the end of the day, they kind of go through with it. Kind of greed takes over and lose a sense of who they are. People are just very cynical, and because they suddenly just kind of like Bill Hader as a writer peels the onion off to the very core, to the point where it's almost too cringy to watch because they just become cynical and caricatures of themselves.
Well, I agree in that sense. And I'm saying, like, I didn't like season 4 in a sense, like, as a viewer, but I also have to say, like, I have a huge respect for what the show did and does, because it is definitely one of the most creative and ambitious shows in terms of its directing, its writing, its themes, what it's trying to say and do. Like, it is so unique, and I really love it for that, and I really admire the show, but my heart just wasn't in it for this season, and I do feel like it maybe fell victim a little bit to the hype. They're thinking, we've done this before, we have to do it extra different, we have to shoot it extra austere. This can't just be a normal, we have to flip expectations. And like, even those first 2 or 3 episodes of this season, it was like they kept flipping the expectations. There were these huge character turns every couple of scenes that it was like, this is insane. Like, this is just a little too nonsensey.
So here's the thing, and not to make this about Succession, but the idea that we discussed in Succession video is that the writer Jesse, he really kind of shows that people are truly never change. They're in essence who they are. Do you think that Bill Hader did that with Barry? Or do you think he kind of just flipped it? Because in season 1, comparing to season 1, he was a little bit more portrayed as someone who wanted to change and someone who wasn't such self-absorbed asshole that he becomes later on in the 4th season, especially, he's just very cynical.
I want to rewatch the whole show, just like sitting down back to back to back to see how it works, because in terms of Succession, I do think that Succession is a show, you watch the first season, you watch the last season, it is the same show. I think it's very true to itself. It evolves, but it's very much, sticking to what it is, and it's coherent. And I just think Barry in itself, at some point halfway through it, decided we're not that anymore. We're this type of show. And I think you really have to, in your head, split it and go like, all right, there's the first 2 seasons, the last 2 seasons. They're like different movies. They're about different people, and that's where I think the flaw is that they just tried to overdo everything to a point where it's just, it's unrecognizable to how it was in the beginning. And, again, like I really love the places it went, and there are some amazing moments in the show, but thematically it doesn't, and stylistically, it just doesn't really cohere together.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I agree with you 100%.
So it's deeply flawed, I think, but very good still.
Yeah. I think it's the season 3 and season 4. If you watch it, I think the writers and directors are under the impression that we're not bringing in new audience as much as you already know the characters. So we're just going to flip it over its head because it is trying to kind of shock you.
It was like, we're just trying to shake things up and do things that are really unique. And that's great.
And it does. And it does.
But I do think that they betrayed the story somewhat.
Yeah. Okay. Would you still recommend people?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you've already seen it.
You should definitely still watch it.
You've hopefully already seen it because this is all spoilers.
You should definitely watch it. It's definitely worthwhile. Even, seasons 3 and 4 are very good and have some amazing moments. And I do think that the last episode especially was terrific.
I will say one thing really quick. I really liked that Sally at the end was content being just a drama teacher, because she was, I think that was a good arc. Yeah. And also...
Sally's a very tragic character in the show.
Yeah, but she's tragic in a way that she just kind of becomes her parents, that we briefly see that they're very not very supportive and all those things. Yeah. And she's not really a great mother, and she kind of repeats the cycle. So, but she's also, she's too unaware of herself in some ways to be able to change, because she's really, we're all damaged, but she really doesn't. I think you can only change when you acknowledge, the broken parts of you. And I think sometimes she doesn't, when she acknowledges it, she runs away from it. She runs away with Barry when she gets scared about her ambition as an actor. And, yeah. Hope you like the show. Hope you like this video.
And we'll
talk to you next time.
Yep. Talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.